Come, come. Good afternoon. Have a seat, Devraj. So, Devraj, as we can see, you are from Dhule, Maharashtra. Your optional is history, and your Bachelor of Engineering, Hydraulics and Pneumatics, Dynamics of Machinery.
No, sir, actually that is mechanical engineering.
Okay, but it is written there that okay, mechanical engineering. Um, you are fond of watching Hollywood sci-fi,
Yes, science fiction.
science fiction series and movies, and you play guitar. What is payment banks?
So payment banks are the banks which are mainly used for online payments, digital payments. Though they are not allowed to have deposits in themselves, but they helps in digital.
Examples?
Sir, Airtel Payment Bank, Paytm Payment Bank.
Is there any limit imposed on them?
Yes, sir. There is 1 lakh rupees of deposit they can take on the wallet.
India has been maintaining having a love-hate relationship with Pakistan.
Yes.
Hate is known.
Yes,
What
sir.
are some of the love relationships which have happened in the past?
Sir, I think cricket is love thing
All right.
because
What is the second?
second is Kartarpur corridor, sir. That
Okay.
is.
All right.
Third one is. Uh,
What about some music, something connected
yes,
with
sir.
that?
Yes, classical music and Rehat Fateh Ali Khan. They are quite popular in India.
Anything else where one of the prime ministers also accompanied?
I'm not sure, sir. But there is also one. Indian movies are quite popular in Pakistan, though they are banned in Pakistan.
Was there a
But,
bus journey also?
Yes, sir. There is also Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
Yeah.
Maharashtra, yes.
All right. Now there is a concept which are which are called one group of people, one countries are called friends, the other are enemies,
Yes, sir.
and then there are something laws as frenemies.
Yes, sir.
What is frenemies? And can you give me some example of frenemies?
Sir, I think Russia-China relations can be termed as frenemies because though they on the outer side they seems to be a friends, but there are some relations and some strain in the relation.
In the
Especially,
context of India, can you name some?
sir, Nepal can be termed as, but recently due to the recent events,
Nepal
Kala
must
Pani
be
due
more
to
or
the
less friendly only.
yes,
Yeah.
due
Any
to
other
the,
countries?
frenemies. No, sir, I'm not.
Who controls the cooperative banks in this country? Regulatory functions.
Yes, sir, state control, but however, multi-state cooperatives are controlled by RBI. Recently, there has been an amendment.
RBI controls the urban cooperative banks. What about rural cooperative banks? Who generally controls them?
Sir, there is board of the members who generally have the
Board of members?
yes, those who are members in the cooperatives, they elect their representatives and they
No,
take
no.
the
Which is that regulatory body? Central regulatory body which controls, which regulates the cooperative banks, which cater to the rural areas. I'm
Sir,
not talking of urban cooperative banks, which are in the cities only.
can I take a guess?
Yeah, sure.
Sir, I think NABARD.
Yeah, NABARD is there.
Yes.
All right. Now, the ordnance factories,
Yes, sir.
which were in the state sector, public sector, now they have been corporatized. Do you think it's a good step? They have been made companies now.
Yeah. I think it is a good step, sir, because as they are being corporatized, there can be some fluent decision making, easy decision making, and some hard step can also be taken so as to liquidate the assets which are not producing or which are not very productive in terms of the production or which lost their relevance in the recent.
So will they become profit making now just because they have been corporatized? What? All right, tell me what are the advantages they are going to get by virtue of being corporate bodies now?
Sir, they can take faster decision. Also, some investment could also be invested into the corporate.
The telecom department was corporatized into BSNL.
Yes, sir.
And it was not a very successful
Yes, sir.
Transition.
Yes,
do you think it will be successful?
Sir, in case of the BSNL, the initial year of the BSNL were quite profitable. They were profitable, but due to the scams and all, later they lost their relevance, and also the competitiveness of the Airtel and other, and recently Jio, they made the survival of the BSNL quite hard. But even in the rural areas, they have a quite a formal reach. So I think.
How do you create jobs in the rural areas so that the migration can be checked?
Sir, MSME industry in the rural areas can be promoted, especially if we talk about the sector specific, or the if there is any special product that is being rural areas developed, then it can be product in a mass production, so that employment is also generated, and then uh, growth of
If
that
you are at
sector.
the decision making level and you have a choice, number one, set up a higher education institution
Yes, sir.
in a village, and the second is set up a factory manufacturing
Uh-huh.
company uh, uh, which gives lot of jobs, tremendous job potential is there. Out of the two, supposing the capital is limited, which one would you choose, a higher education or a manufacturing hub?
Sir, I will prioritize higher education, because as our demographic dividend is quite high, so if we polish that further, then that eventually going to.
But do you think higher education is it not leading to more and more frustration amongst the youth
Yes, sir.
because they are not getting employment?
Yes, sir. That is also the issue, sir. But
Then
startup number of startups in the India are also increasing. So the higher education is one of the
at
reason for.
least if you set up an industry there,
Yes, sir.
the employment would be given to the youth. But
Yes.
here you will be only imparting higher education, which will further make them unemployable because there are not so many jobs.
Yes, sir. That can also be termed.
Hmm.
But I think higher education has diverse nature of employment, and if the startups like systems are already happening, that can generate employment in the regional area rather than if we talk
My
about the
final
sector.
question is,
Yes, sir.
number one, do we need huge, big statues in this country?
Uh, Sir, I think at this moment we can say that we don't require such big statues,
Statues.
because there are a lot of issues that needs to be dealt. First, poverty, inequality.
Hmm.
However, big statues tend to also generate the tourism that also benefit in one way or another. But if we have to prioritize, then I think education, healthcare sectors need to be prioritized over the statues.
Okay, my last thing will be, Me Too movement achieved, great popularity
Yes, sir.
in India also.
Yes.
Suddenly it died down. What happened?
Sir, I think it can be because of the social media. Because of social media, diversity has been changed to some other issues, and the Me Too movement, social media played a very important role. But given that social media is very dynamic in nature, new issues tend to subdue the previous issues. So I
Okay,
think that is.
thank you, Shruti.
You are interested in Hollywood sci-fi series and movies.
Yes, sir.
In this, there is a word sci-fi.
Yes, sir.
Sci I understand, but fi I don't.
Sir, it is fiction. Fiction.
Fiction.
Yes, sir. Science
Okay,
fiction.
very good. And what is the technology called VFS, which is being
Sir,
used now?
it is virtual graphics, and VFX is actually generated from the software that has been used for that. There is a last connotation for the files that has been generated. For example, Maya software and Adobe After Effects is used now. So that terms is generated from their VFX.
Very good. Then, what are the duties of governor
Yes.
in general? What is governor supposed to do in a state?
Sir, governor can be governor's role can be termed from the president of India, where after the bill has been passed from in the state legislative assembly, governor gives his final assent to it. And if there is no government is forming, if there is no clear-cut majority, then governor can also bring the president rule in the state, and also he can promulgate the ordinance also in case of necessary if the state legislatures and are not in session. These are the two things.
These are hardly any tasks.
Yes, sir.
So governor is mostly without any task.
Yeah.
Because how many times a bill would be passed?
Yes, sir. Uh, Sir, that can be termed as a.
Well, anyway, if a bill is passed by the assembly, what options does the governor have? What can he do on it?
Sir, governor has three options. Either he can give assent directly, either he can possess the veto like on that, or either he can also suggest that bill to the president for the veto, or any if the bill contains any section that is being controversial or affecting the federalism or any such issues, then he can also refer that to the president.
What is the reality?
Sir, in reality, that does not happen a lot, but I think that should be on the how bill is presented and what type of bill is there. That is dependent on that. So I think that type of.
Now, under the Representation of People Act, very recently, a chief minister was issued a notice.
Yes.
Who and why?
Sir, I am not able to recall the execution to read upon it.
Chief Minister Jharkhand.
Yes.
Why?
Sir, I am not able to recall this.
Okay. Now, what is the duty or role of returning officer in an election?
Returning officers act as the chief of the territorial constituency, where he manages all the election booths. I think that is it. I'm not sure about it.
Managing election booth.
Election
Election booth.
poll booths, sir. Poll.
Poll booth. There's hardly anything.
Sir, I have to read upon that.
He is involved in the whole process of the election, right from the day of the notification till the day of the counting.
Yes.
And declaration of result.
Yes. Thank you.
There are lots of duties. Well, thank you.
Okay, Devraj. Now, you must have heard something called bad bank.
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir, bad bank. If we talk about conventional banks, then they have a lot of NPAs. If the bad bank is formulated, then bad bank is going to buy all those NPA and try to resolve them in easier manner. So that can be that can benefit that all the NPAs are situated in a one bank, so that can effectively resolve those NPA.
But what is actual name of this bad bank?
Sir, it is asset restructuring bank, I think.
Okay. So it acquires assets from the.
Yes.
From
the banks which have NPAs, public sector banks.
Okay. So now, if you acquire assets which are NPAs from the other bank's balance sheet becomes very clean.
Yes.
This whole unclean thing is transferred to this bank.
Yes.
So don't you think this is a sort of manipulation of the banking operations?
Sir, when we transfer the NPAs from the one bank to another bank, though its balance sheet is get clean, but there is also one thing that that bank don't has to put the resources for resolving those NPAs. So that process become very easily, and it is become very concentrated in one bank. That's why it become easier for restructuring those loans, or even in IBC, insolvency bankruptcy code. So that become easier in a one concentrated go. That's why I think that bank is.
So this has been a successful experiment so far.
Sir, I have to collect the data on that.
Okay. Now, what is Competition Commission of India?
Sir, Competition Commission of India basically deals with if any, for example, let's say Amazon or Flipkart, if they are indulged in the activity which are hampering the local businessmen or retailers, then Competition Commission of India checks whether it is being done instead
So
of.
if an MNC conducts its operations in such a way which threatens the local, then it comes into.
Yes, and also, sir, if there is any merger or if there is any buyback of any other company, then also Competition Commission of India checks whether it is viable or competitive pricing.
I see. I think the scope is wider.
Yes.
It's also for the Indian companies if they adopt monopolistic.
Yes, monopolistic.
So what was its previous name from Competition Commission?
Sir, I have to read.
It's in the previous incarnation what it used to be called.
Sorry, sir, I'm not able to recall it.
Okay. Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Commission of India.
Thank you.
Now, UNFCCC, what does it stand for?
United Nations. Sir, I'm not able to recall
Okay.
it.
What is it?
Sir, it is related to climate change and managing the climate change in more holistic manner with respect.
When was it adopted?
Sir, it was in 1992 Rio de Janeiro Convention.
And under this convention, what are the bodies which are functioning?
Sir,
It's called United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
yes, sir.
So what are the institutions that are functioning under this?
Sir, one is Agenda 21, which deals with
Agenda 21 is a different
uh,
document, which was also adopted at Rio Summit.
sir, I have to read into whatever.
Okay. You know this COP,
Yes, sir.
COP 26.
Yes.
All this COP, they are under this.
Yes.
That, what you call parties to the conference.
Yes.
They are all to the parties to this particular conference. So tell me, what was the last COP held and what was its major outcome?
Sir, COP 26 was recently held last year, and in this, India adopted a various initiatives. For example, by 2030, 50% of the power should be generated from the renewable energy. Then
That was India's declaration, but
yes.
as a whole, globally, what was the consensus on what issues?
Sir, one of the issues is that by the end of this century, 21st century, the temperature is set to rise above what was behind, that is 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius. It was supposed to rise more than that. So that's why more discussion and more actual decision should be made on this regard so as to fight the climate change in the United Nations.
But that was decided at the Paris Agreement.
Yes. Sir, but the funding was not provided adequately. For example, 100 billion of funding was promised, but it was not delivered in adequate manner. So that was also decided.
Okay, now my last question is, NATO has been in news quite a lot these days. What is NATO? When it was constituted? What was its purpose?
Sir, NATO is the alliance of the European and the USA, Canada, and like countries, which basically was formulated when the USA after the World War II, when the USSR, if any country attacks one of these countries, then it will be decided that all these countries has been attacked. In recently, it is in the news because Ukraine decided to join the NATO. Means it was in the talks with joining the NATO. And it has been alleged that it is one of the reasons why Russia attacked the Ukraine.
How many members it has now?
So can I take a guess? I think
Yes.
26, I think.
It's 30.
Yeah.
And what was the number in 1989 when Soviet Union was dissolved?
Sir, I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay, have a look at it.
Yeah.
So, do we need NATO now? Is it needed?
Sir, I think NATO is more concerned of the European Union and the USA. But however, if you think about it, it is good that they have these type of alliances because at least the peace in that region is
You
ensured.
think it's good?
Yes, sir. I think it is good.
But it was supposed to be a defensive alliance.
Yes, sir.
But it has become an offensive alliance. It attacked Iraq, it attacked Libya, it attacked Syria, it attacked some other parts of the world as well.
Sir, I think that is the issue. But overall, if we see, then I
Overall,
think,
you see, it's good.
sir, I think it is good because the peace in the region is quite important. If we talk about the European in the trade-wise, political-wise, so I think.
But some people say that NATO is the biggest obstacle to peace. If it is dissolved, the peace will be established.
Yes. Sir, I think there are some regional issues in the Europe itself. So if the NATO is dissolved, then those issues can come to forefront, and there can be another front from that.
Okay.
So I
Thank
think-
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This NATO was from the which bloc,
Western Bloc.
and what was the Eastern Bloc's response to that?
Sir, USSR was there. USSR.
No, but what was their
Sir, Russia
response to that?
was USSR.
Yeah, this NATO is from Western side, and what was from the Eastern side? Eastern Bloc.
Yes, yes, yes. Sir, I have read it, but I am not able to recall it exactly.
Okay. Read more about the Warsaw.
Yes.
Now, what are the functionaries in a district administration?
Functionaries. Sir, district magistrate is there. Then superintendent of police is there, which manages the law and order. Then there is, if you talk about Panchayati Raj institutions are in a grassroots level. Panchayats is there, Gram Panchayat is there. Then
Gram Panchayat will be part of district administration.
no, sir, it will be not part of district administration, but in a rural areas that can be act as that administration. No, it is more of a political nature in that sense. But in administration, I think panchayat samitis are there. So I'm not able to recall.
So only two functionaries.
Uh, Sir, I have to read another.
There are more than dozen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, read more about that.
Yes.
Now you see there are child rights activists. There are a lot of NGOs. Some are fighting in Supreme Court, High Courts, and you see the new policies and programs are coming up to the welfare of and protection of children. Which are the laws for their care and protection,
Uh,
specifically for children?
Sir, POXO is there. POXO Act, Prevention of Sexual Offences Act.
Yeah.
Then there is educational right to education is also for bringing the fundamental, completing the fundamental rights of the child education to the standard that is there.
Yeah.
I'm not able to recall that.
Then you will be able to recall. Just keep actually one child in front of you and then see the welfare of that child, protection and welfare. How the child can be protected and can be supported.
Child Marriage Act is there, sir. Prevention of Child Marriage Act is
Yes,
there.
prevention of child marriage. The most important one. What heard about juvenile justice, care and protection? Then one more important. Kailash Satyarthi is fighting for that for the last so many years.
Sir, I have to read it.
Prevention of child labor. Okay. Now tell me, I just give you example of three things. One is the schemes. The second thing is the rules, and then acts. Now, what is the difference between these three, and from where they come?
Yes.
What is the origin of these?
Sir, Act is basically any legislation done by Parliament, and it is a overall act. For instance, covering the whole population of it.
By Parliament.
Parliament or state legislature, can we say?
Yeah.
Rules can be defined as the specific conditions for meeting those acts, or even in a scheme also. For example, if we talk about ration card system, public distribution system, there are certain rules that income should be less than that, or income should be that. They are the rules, and the schemes are. I think schemes can be defined as the
rules I understand now. The acts I understand that they will come from the legislature. But rules I am still confused from where they will come.
Sir, rules are done in Act itself. However, they are up to, I think, administration.
They are done in Act itself means what? They are part of Act?
Yes, sir, part of Act.
They are part of Act.
Yes, sir.
Then how they are different from Act rules?
Sir, Act is an overall concept, but however, if we go deep into the rules, are the major concept which defines that.
So they are passed by the legislature simultaneously or how?
Sir, there are various motions. For example, if we talk about, then a single section of the act is passed, and with that the rules. And if we talk about bulletin motion, then whole act is whole sections of that without reading each and every section of the act.
Now
Whole
it
act
is becoming very difficult for me. I just want whether they are passed by the same legislature or they are passed or formulated by other agency.
Sir, they are passed by the same legislature, and sometimes even their interpretation can be also done by the administrative bodies.
Interpretation is different. I'm asking about the formulation
Sir, it is done by Parliament itself.
by the parliament or legislature. Then schemes.
Schemes can be defined as a directed initiatives uh, which are there for upliftment of sections of the society.
They come from where? From which body?
Sir, scheme also come from the Parliament. For example,
So you want to say that all three actually they originate from the legislature.
yes, sir, all three.
You study more on that.
Yes,
So you belong to Maharashtra,
yes,
a place called as Dhule, which is part of the Khandesh.
yes.
Why it is called as Khandesh?
Sir, there are actually two theories. First is that there was one ruler whose name who was given the title of the Khan by Gujarati ruler, and from that the Khandesh was derived. And there is also another that it is in more in the ancient India. Uh, there was this was quite prominent from the perspective of the rulers which were there in ancient India, and that's why it is called as Khandesh.
So which region compromises of Khandesh generally, other than Dhule?
Jalgaon is there, and Nandurbar is there.
Nandurbar is. Nandurbar is culturally famous for?
Uh, I'm not sure.
Not aware at this point. Okay. So Maharashtra has two capitals. Why we have this system in Maharashtra?
Sir, Nagpur is termed as a winter capital. It can be because in summer in Mumbai the temperature become quite high. That's why the Nagpur become the second capital. And also it is because if any humanitarian disaster or something like that happens in Mumbai, then there will be second capital reserve.
Okay. When Maharashtra came into existence,
1st May 1960.
what was the reason for that?
So bifurcation of Gujarat and Maharashtra on the basis of linguistic.
But the states reorganization committee actually did not supported that.
Yes, sir. State reorganization, sir. First one, that is Dhar Commission didn't support it. JVP Commission also did.
Even the state reorganization commission, Fazal Ali Commission, did not recommended the bifurcation of Gujarat and Maharashtra.
Yes.
Then what situation or what circumstances led to the formation of Maharashtra?
Sir, I think there was a political protest on a higher instance, so that's why one of the reason was that, and there was some riots also in the initial phases.
Okay. So there's something called as tour of duty in civil service. Are you aware about this?
No, sir.
Army?
No.
Not aware.
Yes, sir. Tour of duty is actually the initiative by army in which 2 or 3 years we can act as a soldier, in which we
Can we have something same like this in civil services as well? Why to recruit for career long period of 25-30 years? Same thing can be done in the administration, civil administration.
Yes, sir, we can do it, but training is also important because
वो तो army की training तो it's more tough now.
Yes, sir.
Civil administration training will be easier compared to that. We'll hire for 3 years, and after 3 years we'll recruit new bureaucrats.
So that can be also there, but I think civil services required more experienced person, and that can go on because army person, if we talk about, they tend to retire in early age. In the case of the civil, if we talk about that, then
but army is more we can say security centric.
Yes.
And still the armed forces are ready to take on this challenge or chance as well. So why not to go it with the civil services?
Sir, I think that is the reason because civil services they have required they are work in the actual society, and there are various directions which we can work upon. But in the army, there is only one, that is security infiltration, or even in drug trafficking. If we talk about northwestern or northeastern borders, so that is the reason.
Okay. In Maharashtra, in certain parts of the state, cooperative movement became successful.
Yes.
But in certain regions, it could not be successful. Why so?
Sir, in eastern region or even in the northern region, some of that are quite drought prone areas, and due to that, the productivity of agriculture is not quite high, and that was one of the reason. And the fragmentation of agriculture is quite prominent in those areas. So that's why it's become very difficult to bring those farmers together and form the cooperative.
So other than this farm cooperatives, can't we have anything else? What else? If we like no, if you are getting selected and you are appointed, that what new areas you can open up in the cooperative sector?
Sir, I think I will open the cooperative instruments. For example, tractors. There are a lot of farmers who cannot afford the tractor and they have to purchase the bull, and that becomes tremendously expensive in the later cost. So I think the tractors and the heavy instruments can be done so that they can take it, and whenever
Credit cooperatives you are talking
yes,
about.
credit
They
cooperatives.
are already working credit cooperatives too.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Also, modernization of agriculture can be done in this sector, and modern agriculture techniques could be utilized. And zero budget natural farming is also option. Though in the initial phases, the productivity of the farming get degraded, but it can.
Thank
be,
you very much.
Yes.
Okay, so Devraj, we will take you back to the waiting room for a while. We'll call you back again. Okay. आइए. Come. Sit down. First of all, you don't have to say, "May I come in, sir?"
Okay.
There in the interview also, you will be simply knocking the door,
Okay.
and there will be a peon sitting outside who will usher you in,
Okay.
and then you have to greet the
Okay.
members.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me, Devraj, when is your interview?
Sir, 13th of May.
13th May. Is it the first time you are appearing at a
Yes,
CSE
sir.
interview?
Yes, first time.
Okay. How do you think you will assess yourself in today's mock interview?
Sir, I think factual, I need to work a lot in factual, and also some analytical questions I need to think first and then answer.
Okay. So Devraj, you are good. There is no doubt about it. Your knowledge is very good in most of the cases, but some of the cases you need to
Yes.
make a study.
Yes.
And then secondly, I would like to say your communication skills are otherwise good, except that sometimes you speak very fast.
Okay. Yes.
So, and you are always appear to be in a hurry to give the answer.
Okay.
So it is better to have a calm composure.
Okay.
So you listen to the question first, and then you will come out with a very good answer then.
Okay.
So
Yes.
don't be in a hurry.
Yes.
So first of all, let that question register inside yourself,
Okay.
and then try to find the answer,
Yes.
and then prioritize the answer, which is the most important part of the answer. That should come first, then
Okay.
most less important and less important.
Yes.
For example, if someone asks about Maharashtra, what are the 5 good things about Maharashtra or strengths of Maharashtra? So the most important strength should come first, then the
Yeah.
less.
Okay. Yes.
So in priority.
Yes.
And third is that you should always give examples in giving answers. So that will make your answer very, very impressive.
Yes. Okay.
Powerful.
Yes.
And when there is a question which can go either way, it may have both pros and cons, then always give both the sides.
Okay.
That will make you rational, because
Okay.
one important thing is that you should not have a fixed idea. You should be able to rationalize it. You should have analytical skills. So that's just by way of suggestion, that if there is a question, like question may come on, say for example, sedition law,
Okay.
or homosexuality,
Okay.
or Ayodhya, demonetization, reservation. So these are issues in which one can have opinions on both the sides.
Okay.
So try to give both the sides, that there are two schools, and then if they ask you, then give your opinion, which should be in line with the government thinking, the government policy. You should not go against that. And if there is a court judgment in support of your answer, like in hijab case or in Ayodhya case, then always give that answer and take the shelter behind that court order.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Follow? Now coming to Maharashtra. So everything about Maharashtra, I don't have to say that. The history of Maharashtra, then the geography of Maharashtra, then the agriculture, the irrigation, the power, the institution, the industry, the culture, women's status, tourism potential, everything about Maharashtra you should study, and facts and figures.
Yes.
Okay? So that will make you you will be able to stand out in terms of any questions. Then also learn about Khandesh
Yes.
and Dhule.
Yes.
So catch hold of a good book on Dhule
Yes.
and Maharashtra. You will be able to know every statistics about Maharashtra.
Yes.
So that is very important. Optional history.
Yes.
So we did not ask you questions on history,
Yes.
but history is one area where you must study, because some of the panelists may be there who may be having excellent knowledge about the various. So you have covered all the ages of history, all the periods.
Yes, sir.
All the
Ancient,
pe-
medieval, modern,
all the periods.
postmodern.
So you just brush up your knowledge about
Yes.
the history. Then we did not ask you any questions regarding your bachelor degree also.
Yeah.
So there it's your subject, you should prepare
Yes.
fairly well. And then of course your hobbies. So playing guitar.
Yes.
So how many types of guitar are there? So Hawaiian and Spanish.
Yes.
And what are the tunes which you can play? Any particular thing you have done? So guitar prepare.
Yeah.
Then Hollywood sci-fi series, which is that film which you might have seen in the recent past.
Okay.
So they may ask you to explain that film. What is the content? Who are the actors, and so on.
Yeah. Okay.
One film, prepare well.
Yes.
Then coming to the specific questions, one thing is that the current affairs and general knowledge
Okay.
and polity.
Yeah.
So read the constitution very well.
Yes.
You were asked a question about the governor's role. Okay?
Yeah.
So understand that what is the federal structure of this country,
Yeah.
and the relation between the center and the states. What are the pinpricks
Yeah.
between the two? So
Yes.
differences of opinion and so on. Why it has assumed such a great importance? Governor role is one.
Yeah.
There are many other things.
Yes.
So understand what are the,
Yeah.
for example, even this elementary thing, the All India Service Rules were amended recently, where the government of India has got the power to overrule the state government in calling a All India Service Officer.
Yeah.
Okay, there can be situations regarding GST. There were initially there were lot of differences,
Yes.
and there can be many such areas. So understand those things, relations between the two. Then the current affairs. So under the Representation of People Act, the notice was issued to the CM Jharkhand.
Yes.
So these are current affairs. You should read newspaper every day.
Yeah.
And in the next about you have 13th of May, so you still have about a week.
Yes. We.
So prepare, read newspaper, 2-3 newspaper if it's possible. You can
Yes.
read that.
Definitely.
At least a Hindu and Indian Express, try to read.
Yes.
I asked you many questions about. In fact, many questions were asked regarding banks.
Yes.
So the urban cooperative banks and the rural cooperative banks and the bad bank, and so anything connected with banks, liquidity ratio and so on,
Yes.
merger of banks, nationalization of banks, all these things.
Yes.
Other parts of economy also. So what is the position of India's economy now after COVID-19? Recently, Reserve Bank of India gave an estimate that by which year we should be in a position to recoup the losses. So understand that.
Yes.
Then repo rate was recently changed. Why? What is effect it's going to be on the common consumer, on inflation, and so on. Also read go to the website of Niti Aayog, and there they have projected next 75 years. How do they like to see India?
Okay.
Change of from Planning Commission to Niti Aayog, has it been a good experience or not? And then many public policies and acts, laws. So some questions were asked to you, like child protection laws.
Yes.
So there are many such disadvantaged sectors who need protection and empowerment.
Yes.
So study all the laws regarding women,
Yes.
then children, then senior citizens,
Yes.
and also scheduled caste, scheduled tribes,
Yes.
and handicapped, so that you are aware about the laws.
Okay.
You are also aware about the schemes and public policies.
Okay.
The question was asked regarding the difference between scheme, rules, and act. Now, act was fine. You said it is made by the legislature. state legislature or by the parliament.
Yes.
But coming to the rules, what exactly are the rules? So rules is the procedure. It describes the procedure.
Okay.
Act specifically talks about the specific provisions.
Okay.
But how to implement that act, the procedure, for example, fees, the procedure, who are the competent authorities, they are all under the rules.
Okay.
And schemes are things which are specially made, in pursuance to the act and the rules, which are specifically meant. It can last for a specific period also. And schemes are basically the public policies.
Yes.
It emanates from the public policies. That, for example, if you want to empower women, so you bring out various schemes for Apni Beti Apna Dhan and all those things. Okay. Then the question was regarding the CCI, the role of CCI. Also understand very well because civil servant concerned Karma Yogi, Mission Karma Yogi.
Yes.
You should go through that. Read the constitution fully.
Yes.
All articles.
Yes.
So that you understand the role of the president, the vice president, prime minister. Also specific areas of constitution, like for example, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, why they are in the news. Fundamental rights are also in the news, fundamental duties are also in the news. Read the preamble.
Yes.
If they may ask you to tell what are the few lines of the preamble. Also understand the remedies available to the public in case someone commits excesses. It can be executive, then they have to go to the courts, and there is a remedy provided. So Article 32, 226, writ petition, and there are many other remedies also.
Yes.
Then and imagine and understand that the rules are not, they do not go to the legislature.
Okay.
They are delegated legislation which is done by the government itself. Okay. It is not, it does not go to the legislature. Schemes also don't go to the legislature. You said you put all of them, you bracketed them that they all go to the legislature. They don't. And then two capitals of Maharashtra, that question was asked, and tour of duty and cooperative movement. These are typical of Maharashtra. You should know all these things. So I would like to say, before I give you one or two things which are more also necessary, that you should have some more energy while speaking. And sometimes it gave the impression that the volume went slightly low. Maybe it is because of some exhaustion. Have you been to some other previous mocks also today?
Yes, sir. There was one in the morning.
Morning, you already went to one mock. So you were. This is the second mock you are attending today. So it should be, the modulation in the voice must be there, but don't bring your voice level to such low level that sometimes it becomes difficult to hear. So keep a good pace with modulation. And then your dress etc. is fine, except that the tie should be in the middle, and you must be wearing shoes with laces.
No lace. Should
be better if you wear lace, that lace shoes. And then institutions like UNFCCC, so United Nations institutions regarding pollution, environmental protection, climate change, environmental sustainability, ecological footprint, carbon credit, all these things you should know. Other United Nations institutions also you should know. And then India's foreign policy, the 5 pillars of India's foreign policy, India and its relation with its neighbors, and also some of the happenings in the vicinity. So it can be Sri Lanka, it can be Pakistan, and then India, and particularly with reference to India and China, India and UK, India and United States, India and Russia. So these relationships. Afghanistan, the Taliban government, what effect it has on our government, and so on. So anything about and what are the global issues which are facing this world now. So hunger is there, migration is there, COVID is one, climate change is another, terrorism is there, drugs are there, AIDS is there. So there are many global issues. And also understand SDGs. So where does India stand in respect of various indices? So whether it is hunger, or whether it is human development, and corruption perception index, and so on. So all these things you should know. And then of course NATO questions were asked on about NATO and Warsaw, and then similarly other group of nations which have been formed. So it is Quad and other things.
Yes.
All these things you should know. And also, lastly but not the least, how Panchayati Raj institutions work.
Yes.
So understand the role of the Panchayat, and also at some point of time you mentioned something.
District administration.
Yes.
Yeah, district
So you said that the Panchayat is a political nature.
I
Now,
got confused.
I was immediately alerted that you should never talk such kind of things.
Yeah.
It's an elected body.
Yes, sir.
The grassroots democracy starts at that level.
Yes, sir.
So you do not mention, because political is always, you were trying to use it. It was in a negative context. It's a
Okay.
political body.
Yes.
It's a democratic body.
Yes,
it is
sir.
through election. Same thing then Panchayat Samiti, and similarly Zila Parishad, and understand who are the official actors there.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Gram Sachiv, Block Development Officer,
Yeah.
Zila Parishad CEO, they are the official. The unofficial, the chairman Zila Parishad, then the chairman Panchayat Samiti and Sarpanch.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then understand the urban local bodies. In the same way, again it is democratic body. 73rd, 74th Amendment, they are very important landmark,
Yes.
decisions. And also understand the district administration.
Yes.
So district administration, you should understand how that works and who are the prominent players there, official players.
Yes.
So collector is one of them, but there is police, superintendent of police, irrigation, there is a
Yes.
superintending engineer, there is a SE power, then agriculture officer, then cooperative bank is there,
Yes.
dealing with credit, then the issue, fisheries department is there, forest is there, environment is there. So there are industries there. So understand that, the district administration.
Yes.
So, and then understand the role of the collector. Maharashtra, he is known by the collector as a collector. So collector's role is manifold.
Yes.
Understand that thing.
Yes, sir.
And collector role as revenue, in revenue administration, he is called collector.
Yes.
And he has a hierarchy under him. SDM, Tahsildar. Tahsildar is known by a different name in Maharashtra.
Tahsildar is the
Tahsildar.
same.
And then Kanungo and Patwari.
Yes.
Talati is the Patwari. So the role is basically is to updation of the land records,
Yes.
then dispute resolution between two agriculturalists or two farmers. If there is a dispute, he acts as a court, the collector downwards. Collector is the appellate authority normally. The decision is the dispute resolution is done at the level of assistant collector, second grade or first grade, Tahsildar and STMs. Then mutation. So transfer of ownership as a result of sale, inheritance, gift. These are all things connected with revenue administration.
Yes.
Okay. The second role is that of as a law and order, controlling, regulating law and order. That is criminal administration. He is in charge of the executive magistrates. So he is the senior most executive magistrate, the district magistrate.
Yes.
And he imposes various preventive orders under preventive sections, 144, 145, 129 and so on. And then third role is that of coordination, again a very important role. So coordination and developmental function. Developmental function, he oversees the development taking place in the villages.
Yes.
And you must know what are the incomes and expenditure side at the village level. So
Yeah.
income side, it can be chula tax, it can be so many
Yes.
powers
Yeah.
have been given to collect tax. And what are the developmental works? So payment of streets, culverts and drains and so on. So then you should also understand that this is the developmental function. It is overseen by the collector, but collector also coordinates activities with various departments. So the farmers, he deals directly with the farmers in a way, because agricultural production, he sees to it that the agricultural inputs are provided well in time. There is a fertilizer, there is a pesticide. He also ensures that water irrigation is given and the power is given.
Yes.
Similarly, other policies also, even if it is midday meal, well, it is definitely the collector who oversees these programs of various line departments also.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there is election, the role as district election officer.
Yes.
In election time, he sometimes acts as returning officer, but in assembly election, he is not the returning officer, it is the PCS officers.
Okay.
But in parliamentary constituency, he is generally the returning
Returning,
officer.
yeah.
You must understand the stepwise what are the roles of the returning officer. First of all, after notification of the election, then the nomination papers are accepted by him, symbols are allotted by him,
Yes.
political the polling parties are made by him to carry out the elections, and then elections are conducted, and then the EVMs are collected, deposited in the strong room, and then finally counting, and then results declaration.
Yes.
And then next is disaster management, so floods, droughts, all these things.
Yes.
And lastly, as I said, study the public policies.
Yes.
in detail.
Yes.
Do you have any questions to ask?
No, sir.
This may please add something about the history optional as well.
Yes.
You make a list of figures and personalities who have impacted greatly in the history, in the course of Indian history as well as the world history as
Okay.
well. List out 4 or 5 significant events or wars that has created a huge impact on the India.
Okay.
Socio-economic, cultural policies. Okay. Why certain kings, like why we call Akbar as great. Okay. Why
Okay, yeah.
historical historiography point of view as well. Fourth point is the post-independence progress. How has been when we compare with the pre-independence era. So from the historical point of view as well.
Yes.
Including the sources and the historiography. So there is a need for rewriting of history or correction of history
Yeah.
which is going on. Okay. So this, because history is often, this can be a potential.
Yes.
But don't criticize that
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
History is being rewritten, but
Huh.
you have to say, yeah, there are maybe certain facts which
Certain
might have
facts and-
misrepresented earlier, and it is necessary to carry out fine tuning of that.
Fine
And
tuning.
Yeah.
And inclusiveness. So you can write, you can mention about a home dynasty was not mentioned. So now we are including.
Okay. Yeah.
So that you need to have inclusive part. Okay.
remain on the right side of the.
ठीक है.
Okay.
Thank you.
You will do well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wish you
All the
best.
best. All the best.